Hey guys, it's me, the VTuber with the that does the VTuber thing. I just wanted to make a quick video because I was talking about this on stream. I just wanted to do a quick video just going over some changes that I would make to each killer. Just wanted to go through, maybe give a change, a small change that I would add to their power, and then maybe more of an ambitious one that behavior most likely would never add this to the game, but it would be really great to see the killer start out with. And then maybe something in between, depending on who. So we're gonna go ahead and just start with Trapper. Trapper, I think, is in a better spot ever since the changes, so he carries 2 traps by default now. Makes him not as reliant on his Trapper sack add-ons. That being said, he still has the issue with the early game setup being a bit taxing, which is why he's so far down on the leaderboard. Just that early game setup. So how would you streamline that? Well, you could do one of two things. You could either make trap setting speed be a bit faster, almost instantaneous. I feel like that should be a thing. Or maybe just a bit faster than it is. Or maybe like you do a mechanic where the first 60 seconds of the game, trap setting speed is like something stupid, like 300% faster or something. That makes those traps go down quickly. Picking up is fast enough as is, but like just the setting speed at the very beginning. I feel like the Trapper's early game should be really streamlined and really quick. That way he has more time to get into chases and actually get value out of his traps. The ambitious change would of course be people would be able to start out either with all of the traps spread out on the map already set. So they're at least doing something. They're not just sitting there doing whatever. Or if you're going to a certain map, being able to select a few spots to have traps already set. However, that has a lot of issues. Would never most likely happen. I feel like the idea of having all of the traps already armed is more likely to happen. Or maybe a few of them start as armed. Overall, I think a suggestion from Otts is just make his traps be more centralized. That way he can pick him up a lot easier. Other than that, Trapper's in pretty fine state. Wraith, I wouldn't change much. I like his movement speed in Cloak. I think the nerf to his speed boost was a bit unneeded, a bit unfortunate. In general, I think Wraith is sitting at a pretty good place. I would maybe make him uh, a visible from a bit closer up, maybe, but at the same time, like, I really think that Wraith shouldn't be changed much. If anything, his add-ons should be tweaked a bit more. I think Windstorm, while it is good, is a bit lackluster these days. Not getting huge value out of it. But most of his problematic ones were changed. But not too much. I actually really like, me being a Wraith main, I really like where Wraith is. The changes to him would just be really fucking not much, very niche things. More just tweaks to make him more perfect, more ideal. I think Wraith is one of the few killers that I think is really fine. He overperforms in lower ranks, but I mean, you can't really combat that because as soon as you figure out how the race power works and how to play around it, he becomes very weak. Billy, you've heard it before from other people. You hear it again. Remove the overheat mechanic. It's unnecessary. It was put into nerf the double engravings add-ons, I believe, and it's not necessary anymore. I do agree with some devs where they say you're not going to overheat that often, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I think that's just them just being lazy and wanting to not take out the mechanic that people spent quote unquote time implementing. But that's it. Billy has always been really fun. It's really high skill ceiling to perform as him. He's one of the hardest killers to play in Dead by Daylight, and I think he's sitting at a fine state right now. Huntress changed absolutely nothing at all. The only thing I could say changes the Huntress is her other iridescent add-on that makes it so she moves at a normal killer's movement speed whenever she's out of hatchets. That should be changed for something else completely. Give Huntress a new iridescent. And I feel like that add-on should be base kit. This is very ambitious of me because behavior would never do this, but my idea is that Huntress always has a base movement speed of 115, and each hatchet she carries reduces her movement speed by 1%. Meaning that whenever Huntress has full hatchets, she's moving at 110. Whenever she's at 4, she moves at 111. 3 moves at 112, so on and so forth. And it adds a bit of a drawback because if you bring stuff like infantry belt or whatever to give yourself more hatchets, then suddenly Huntress is moving at like a 108 if she brings infantry belt whenever she has all 7 hatchets. It's just a nice trade-off, and I think it would help her perform a bit more in chases, but that's just more of an ambitious one. I really wouldn't change Huntress. I feel like that would be more problematic and make people be like, oh, the Huntress caught me because she was moving 1% faster, and people would complain, so it's whatever. Leave Huntress the way she is. Michael, I feel like he should gain more stock if he's farther away, or he should gain the same amount as if he was, you know, wherever. The fact that there's a penalty for stalking farther away as Michael kind of defeats the purpose of this character. I'm sure you've heard a lot of people say this. Also, I feel like Tier 1 should be abolished completely. I think Michael is from a time period of the game where they wanted to add drawbacks to Killer's powers and perks, as well as adding a benefit. So what's the benefit of Michael? Well, whenever he hits Tier 3, he can insta-down. What is the drawback? Well, you start out slow. You start out, you know, as a 105 killer, and you have to gain stock in order to become a normal killer in Tier 2, and then so on and so forth. So I feel like Tier 1, keep the stealth mechanic, maybe make him a bit faster. If you want him to be not 115, make him 110. You could change the scratch mirror add-on to make him slow if you want that to be a thing for scratch mirror. But regardless, I think Michael would be fine if you removed Tier 1. In which case, Michael should just start the game as a normal M1 killer, maybe at 110. That's the only difference. Keep the undetectable status effect, and once he's in Tier 2, maybe he can dip between a state where he goes between this would be very ambitious. He could dip between 110 and being stealthy and being a normal M1 killer with normal like terror radius and whatnot. But keep the Tier 3 stock requirement. So maybe he presses control to switch between stealth mode and killer mode, and he just gains stock throughout that. Just get rid of Tier 1 completely. If you want to keep the stealth part of his kit, make it so he can switch between the two, honestly. I feel like that would be a lot more interesting and lead to a lot more great moments with shape, and he would perform a lot better. Hag is a weird one. So Hag has a jump scare mechanic that I don't like. Whenever you run by a Hag trap, it pops and your camera flicks to it. And if you're holding W, you will immediately start running towards that trap. I don't know if getting rid of that would hurt the Hag that much, but I just find it could be incredibly annoying personally. Other than that, Hag performs very well. If anything, if you remove the jump scare mechanic from her, put it on an add-on or something. Other than that, I don't really feel like Hag needs to be changed. She just seems to be fine. She's a bit infuriating to go against sometimes whenever she gets really territorial. But, you know, that's just the nature of the beast, nature of Hag. You have to assign somebody to harass her traps constantly. Doctor's a weird case for me. I think maybe you should make Doctor's shock range a bit longer by default. That way, a lot more loops, he's able to get more value without add-ons. Because he becomes reliant on add-ons for even simple loops like the shack, in order to get value out of that. But, you know, maybe that's on purpose, maybe whatever. Um, Other than that, I think Madness is fine. He's definitely one of the more unique killers, and he has a lot in his kit. But on face value, it doesn't seem like a lot, but once you get into it, it is a lot in his kit. Um, I feel like they could do more stuff with the fake pallets and whatnot, but usually good survivors don't fall for that anyways. So not too many changes on Doctor. Maybe just make his shock range a bit longer. Cannibal, I don't have a lot of fun playing up against Cannibal. Which is sad to say because Cannibal isn't that great. He's just very annoying. And one of the most annoying things about Cannibal is his insane ability to face camp. Um, and I think part of that reason why he's such a good face camper is because unlike Billy and unlike literally any other killer, besides Oni, um, his chainsaw is an insta-down that can multi-hit. It can hit survivors multiple times, no matter what. And I don't even think Plague's Pukes, you can injure multiple survivors, but I don't think even if you have a whole puke stream, um, Plague can go from proccing borrowed time to downing a survivor. Bubba's one of the only killers that can just straight up ignore borrowed time by chainsawing and chasing the survivor, insta-downing the rescuer, proccing borrowed time, and then chasing the survivor down with the rest of his charges. Now, this makes Cannibal really, really unfun to play up against, and pretty much there's nothing you can do if this guy decides to face camp at the end of the game. He is the best killer at securing at least one kill. And if he's already gotten a kill, he's secured two. And since we live in a meta where kills and escapes are the only thing that determine your skill level, I find it very problematic that there's a killer that can consistently face camp and guarantee himself a fucking kill. I find that to be really, really stupid. And I don't know if that's an issue that they need to address with skill-based matchmaking or if that's an issue that they need to address with Cannibal. So the change I'm proposing is make his chainsaw function the way Billy's does. If he injures somebody, he injures that person. They go down, and then he has to initiate another chase. He goes into a cooldown while he chainsaws them, and there you go. um, Other than that, you know, I don't know what else you can do to change him without gutting his kit. I was thinking of making his chainsaw insta-down the first survivor it hits, and then every other survivor it only does a damage state, which doesn't really help in the face camp scenario because they can just continue on because they're going to insta-down the survivor that's rescuing and then get the person who just got unhooked. So it doesn't really fix the issue I have. I feel like the issue only gets fixed whenever you address the actual issue. So yeah, it's down the rescuer, but at least the person that they unhook can get to safety if he goes into a cooldown of insta-downing the rescuer. Other than that, I don't know what else you could change. There's got to be some drawback to it, though. If you're going to make his chainsaw not be able to multi-hit, maybe you need to give him a bit more duration. I also don't like how Bubbas have to time the use of all of their charges on their chainsaw to get the maximum distance out of it. I feel like it should just be auto-use, and you can cancel it or whatnot, but I don't know. That's not for me to decide. It adds an unnecessary skill ceiling, which is just pointless at the end of the day. Freddy, I honestly don't know. I feel like they had a lot of potential to make a really interesting and unique power with Freddy, but it just seems kind of lackluster. Maybe combine his dream pallets and his dream stairs. Maybe you can either set up a dream pallet or a dream stair. Because if you swap out your dream stairs for dream pallets, Usually survivors don't fall for green pallets. Usually they're just going to play around snares. So I feel like if you just put those into his kit, it'd be a bit fine. Freddy's just kind of boring to go up against. Um, I don't know what else to change without completely reworking the character. I would just say make the Dream Palette Space Kit. Pig is another situation where I don't know really what to do besides make her crouch movement speed a bit better. I think you make that a bit better, and she's sitting in a better state. Ambush time maybe should be cut in half, or made a bit shorter. Yeah, I just think crouch movement speed, or make it faster to crouch at least, between crouch and uncrouch. I feel like both, actually. Just make the combat straps add-on base kit, and make her like 10% faster in crouch or something. Um, Not much else to say. Clown, I heard somebody say they wanted to give him more bottles, in which case I ask why, because Clown can reload anywhere. He doesn't have to go reload at a locker. If you gave him more bottles, then you should add the caveat that he has to go reload at lockers now. But him just being able to reload whenever and wherever, that's why he doesn't have many bottles. He just has to choose to reload to give a bit more distance to the survivor. Um, Clown. He's just a unfun killer to play up against. I don't know what would make him more fun without a drastic change to his power. I don't even know if they could add like a third fucking bottle, like a green one that makes it so you fucking jump up to the sky or something. I don't know, dude. I Somebody come up with a good change for this fucker and then come at me, because I have no clue. Oh, I have one. Remove pinky finger. Or make it so if you make it like iridescent hedge, where you have one bottle. Pinky finger is just one bottle. That's it. You miss your fucking pinky finger, too bad. Spirit is another killer I think is just fine. Ever since they added her directional phasing and whatnot, she has some counterplay. She's not as infuriating to go up against. Her power is great. Her base movement speed is 110. I don't know what else you can say about her. She's just pretty fine. She's very powerful. I don't think she deserves to be nerfed, though. Because she has a high skill ceiling. I play Spirit, and it's not fucking like Oonga Boonga Brain. You actually have to fucking think. You have to try to mind game, because survivors can now play around you. I think before, every palette being a 50-50 was very toxic. But now survivors can fucking tell where you are in the fucking loop. So, I think she's fine. Legion is another fucking killer that you don't want to touch, or they're gonna break the fucking game. Let's be real. If you're gonna keep Legion the way they are, make them very effective at what they're good at doing. Legion is good at one thing, and that is chain stabbing and getting people injured. I love the chain stat add-ons. Hell, if they even buff the chain stat add-ons, I think that would be better. But they also need to buff Legion's base power. I think normally, if I stab somebody and I hear Killer Instinct proc and I see that they're farther than like 2 meters away, it's not even worth going to that person, because you're not going to reach them, especially if they're holding W away from you. So how do you combat that? Well, you give Legion a growing movement speed buff every time you get a stab. So first stab, you gain a 10% bonus on your movement speed in Feral Frenzy, so that you can have an easier time making it to the next person. If you are able to get another chain stab, then you have a 20% buff. It just stacks 10% every time, and makes you more effective at getting stabs, chain stabs specifically. That way, hopefully, you can get everybody injured, get it down, get a hook, and that's basically your entire early game as Legion. Unfortunately, in the healing meta that we're in, survivors spreading out, healing, and people self-carrying in boons, it's very hard to play Legion in this current meta. So you could probably increase the base min timer for Legion, And of course, that min timer already isn't affected by Circle of Healing, and it shouldn't be affected by Circle of Healing. The only other thing I could say, if they wanted to drastically change Legion's power, make it literally so Legion's first hit in Feral Frenzy is just for a free hit on a survivor, and then they continue the chase as normally out of Feral Frenzy without having to take a big 4-second stun to come out. That's the main issue. As well with Legion is that every time you come out of your power, you basically eat a decisive strike. You're taking a 4-second stun. Granted, you can move slowly throughout that, but I think that's actually really dumb. I also think it's dumb that you can't see scratch marks while in Feral Frenzy. I feel like that should just be a thing. If you want to hide blood, that's fine, but you should at least be able to see scratchies. I don't understand why that's a thing, personally, but yeah. Unhide the scratch marks, give them a movement speed bonus, and reduce the stun for coming out of Feral Frenzy down from 4 seconds to 3. And I think they're fine. If they want to rework it, I feel like my idea for the easy first hit is stupid, and I would love to see them come up with a different idea for Legion's power. I know a lot of people want to see Legion with a disguise mechanic. I think that's stupid, even because they're just basing that on what's inside of the trailer for Darkness Among Us. It's just whatever. But yeah, it's really just as simple as if you want to keep Legion the way they are, make them more effective at chain stabbing, and stop punishing them for coming out of their power. That's basically it. Plague, I think, is fine. I think she needs to have a new mechanic for all of her fountains being completely filled up. Honestly, I hate that whenever you cleanse in the last fountain, it removes all of your fountains from the map and you gain Corrupt Purge. I think that's stupid. I feel like maybe you should still gain Corrupt Purge for free if they do fill up every fountain, but survivors should be punished. They shouldn't be able to cleanse anymore. If you want to hold them hostage and fucking make it so they can't cleanse at all if they've been cleansing the entire game, I feel like you should be able to do that. I feel like you should have all of your fountains be corrupted. They can't cleanse anymore, and you can go ham in the end game with your fucking 8 fountains around the map or however many. That's the only change that I would like to see on Plague. Because I feel like you're punishing the Plague more for getting survivors sick if they're going to go all instantly cleanse. You're punishing the Plague more for that. Granted, she does get her Corrupt Purge instantly without having to visit a fountain, but it's never at a good time. And if you get pallet stunned, like I've had one of my friends play Plague get their fucking Corrupt Purge automatically because they filled up every fountain. She got her Corrupt Purge, and they get instantly fucking pallet stunned out of their power. You shouldn't be able to get pallet stunned out of Corrupt Purge. I think that's stupid. Yeah, that's it. If you do make those changes, maybe make Plague 110. I don't know. If you have to make a drawback. Ghostface, I think, is fine. Other than improving his reveal mechanic, I think after they made the changes so he can use his power a bit more without add-ons, that's great. I played Ghostface a bit. I think he's pretty fun. If anybody has any suggestions for any changes on him, I'd like to hear them. Other than that, I think he's sitting in a pretty good spot. Yeah. Demo Puppy, perfect. Don't touch him. Do not touch Demo Puppy. Maybe touch some of his useless add-ons, but don't touch him. Oni. The only thing I'd like to see on Oni is some more interesting add-ons. All of his add-ons seem to be meh. Like, I'm not like, oh, boy, I can't wait to equip this specific Oni add-on. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I think Oni is really fun to play. You get a good mix of normal killer gameplay and a bit of the tier 3 Myers feel, except it's a way better fucking feeling than tier 3 Myers. Whenever I pop tier 3 in Myers, I'm like, wow, I'm gonna get like maybe 1, maybe 2 downs, and then my fucking counters reset to 0, and there's only so much stock to go around. Oni, there's infinite amounts of blood, and you down somebody really quick in your Blood Fury, and basically none of your power gets eaten up. Like, he's sitting great, I think. Destlinger, to quote Scott Jund in his joke patch 7.0.0, just make his movement speed 115. He's not really a ranged killer anymore, and he shouldn't be punished as such. He's got a normal ass terror radius now. He cannot quickscope anymore. His range is like, what, 10 meters? 10 to 15 meters? I don't even know what his max distance on his gun is anymore. Just fucking make him 115. He doesn't need to be 110. Executioner's pretty fine. I think I'd like to see some more punishment for stepping in his trails. But I feel like being caged and your hook perks being completely useless is punishment enough. He's sitting in a pretty good spot. The only thing I could say is maybe just give his add-ons a bit of love. A lot of his add-ons are really useless. His range ones are pretty much the only ones worth running nowadays. Give him stuff to make his mouse 2 power better, or maybe have some add-ons that will take advantage of using the cage. Maybe like an actual barbecue built into the cage, or maybe like some type of gen regression add-on that whenever you cage a survivor, any gen that isn't being worked on immediately starts regressing. I don't know, just come up with something, because a lot of his add-ons are just garbage. Blight is another killer with a really high skill ceiling, and he is really good. I think Blight's in a fine state. The only thing that you could change his Blight is just quality of life changes on maps in general. Make things a bit more obvious as to what you can and can't bump into. Because I know it's very infuriating, especially on Ormond, not being able to bump into the snow mounds and continue as Blight. You just slide right off most of them. So, yeah, make it a bit more obvious. Super high skill ceiling to get into Blight, and part of that comes from the shitty map design, knowing what you can and can't slide off of. So, fix collisions, motherfuckers. That's it. Twins, I think their gimmick should be more fun than it actually is. Unfortunately, they feel so clunky and unfun to play that every time I play into Twins or I play Twins, I just leave with a sour taste in my mouth. I don't enjoy this killer, and I think even after they work out the bugs, they're still just kind of boring. They don't do anything flashy, which is a shame. All of the power lies in Victor. Maybe give some more interesting add-ons to Victor specifically. Not really sure what those would be or what could be, but overall, Twins just needs to be fucking fixed so that they function all of the time. Instead of going to like Larry's and then half the time you can't bring out Victor and half the time you can't switch back to Charlotte for no reason whatsoever. Trickster's fine where he is. He was underperforming quite a bit. Six Knives is pretty good. They nerfed the add-on combination that made him be able to melt through survivors in 4 knives, which is great. I think most of the time as Trickster, I'm just running out of knives really quickly, because they're pretty easy to dodge, and they're harder to throw. I think remove the recoil on Trickster, and he'll probably be a lot more fun to play. Because if you've played Trickster, you know that there's a bit of a recoil mechanic, and that shouldn't be a thing. Just make it just like a Huntress hatchet, basically. You're just throwing mini Huntress hatchets, right? No recoil needed. Just throw where you're aiming. That's it. Nemesis. I think Nemesis is fine. However, I still feel like his tentacle could be buffed in such a way that if you hit a healthy, uninfected survivor, it should not only infect them, but it should also injure them. And if you make it so if that happens, they run a bit farther. They're not as affected by a hindered status effect or whatnot. Um, then that's fine. Um, Other than that, there's not really much I can say about Nemesis. Uh, his zombies are inconsistent. They're not going to be improving zombie AI. Um, I think make his lingering hitbox a bit more obvious, or make it uh, what it should be, where where the blue line is where you swung. Uh, Being able to drag your hitbox kind of feels like BS in certain situations. Um, I don't know. Nemesis is a weird one for me. I still feel like his tier 3 is a bit underwhelming, and it just needs that extra oomph of infecting and injuring at the same time. Cinnabite, I think, is also pretty fine about where he is. He's not overly flashy, but he has a great side mechanic of the puzzle box that survivors have to solve, or else they're going to be affected by a chain hunt. Maybe make the box take a bit longer to solve. And if the survivors are under the effects of the chain hunt, that chain hunt should not end even if the survivors picked up the limit configuration. That chain hunt should continue until that survivor solves the limit configuration. So the other 3 survivors should be continuously harassed by chains while the other person is solving the limit configuration if a chain hunt has started. If not, it's fine. That's the only thing I would change. Artist, I don't really know how to change this killer to make them more fun to play against. Unfortunately, Artist isn't too much fun to play against. I never played against an Artist. I finally got to play against an Artist a few times now, and the more I play against the Artist, the more I hate her. Because her power just seems really, really difficult and unfun to play around. You just get zoned out completely, and there's nowhere to go except onto a fucking hook. I don't know how you change her is that way. More punishment for setting up crows. More punishment for launching the crows. I don't know how you would go about that. Maybe make the time to shoo the crows away a bit longer. I think they focus too much on people wanting to use her power for ranged attacks more than anything. But if they wanted to do that, why is she a 115 killer, right? So I don't understand. There should be more punishment for setting them up and being able to zone out loops in such a way that if you see an artist trying to set up birds, you should be able to run and try to make it to the next loop. And they would have to recognize that immediately and stop what they're doing and then start chasing you back normally. Other than that, not really much to say. And that's it. The ring killer gets announced tomorrow, for just a frame of reference. It is now the 15th. It is 1:20 a.m. where I am, so I'm going to go to sleep. And I'd like to see what they're doing with the new ring killer and what their power is going to be. And hopefully it's interesting. Hopefully there's really interesting stuff coming out with it, because this game desperately needs it with the way things have been with the artist. And recent controversy involving NFTs, the devs not listening to the community, and just a lot of stuff happening recently, which breaks my heart because I really do enjoy playing Dead by Daylight. I just hope that whatever it is gets sorted out. The spring chapter is good, and I hope we have a good anniversary event, and I hope the devs get off whatever high horse that they're riding. It sounds a bit mean, but I really do think that the devs just they think they know everything. They think that everything that they say is God's written literature, which it's not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just coping. I don't know. I'm gonna go to sleep now and do whatever. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.